everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a fabulous guest in my corner as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Carrie Keranen.
And I had a really fun time looking over your credits because you've been in a lot of really kind of lighthearted and sort of fun shows. But I was sort of curious, where was the acting spark?
The acting spark specifically for anime or just in general?
Just in general. Like when you were a little kid, was there the ballerina dream first, or was it immediately to be an actress?
Oh my goodness. I remember my sister is about 10 years older than me. And I remember when I was about 7 years old going to see her high school production of Brigadoon. And I sat there in the second row and looking up at this amazing experience in front of me. And I was like, I want to feel this way every day for the rest of my life. And I want to make other people feel this way every day for the rest of my life.
Oh, that is so cute.
That was it.
I love drama myself. I did a lot of drama in middle school and high school, and I can kind of relate a little bit.
Yeah.
And so where did you go from there once you knew that you wanted to be an actress?
Well, of course I went to college and I studied international business and linguistics because why wouldn't you if you're going to be an actress? But I just performed and performed. I did 18 shows my freshman year in college at University of Michigan. And then I was like, okay, no, I'm done. And I repeatedly quit. And one of my best friends for many years, she kept being like, I know you quit, but do you want to do this show? I know you quit, but would you do this part for me? I know you quit. And then 4 years later, I was still performing. And after I graduated, I traveled Europe for a little while, and then I moved to New York. And I just started kind of pounding the pavement there.
And now, what did you seem to discover first? Did you discover voice acting first, or did you discover maybe commercial? What was the first thing?
It's funny. I think that I started doing theater first, and I had auditioned for a friend of mine from college became a casting director in New York, and she said, hey, do you want to audition for this like animated pilot? I said, absolutely. So I went in and I auditioned for this thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I ended up booking it, but the pilot didn't end up getting picked up. But I was like, oh, wow. I was like, that was super fun. I can't believe that there's a job out there for this. And because, I love cartoons, but I never really thought about the fact that people had to record them. So then I was doing another theater piece, and my director said, hey, there's this guy named Michael Sinter-Nicholas at NYAV Post, and he's casting this new anime thing. It's called Berserk. I don't know. So if anyone in the cast wants to audition, this is his phone number. He's looking for a new talent, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'll call him. And I called him, and he picked up in the middle of dinner. And I was like, why are you answering? And I was talking to him, and he's like, well, I'm in the middle of dinner right now with someone. I was like, why did you pick up if you're in the middle of dinner? He was like, oh, well, I just didn't know who this was. And I was like, okay, well, we'll talk tomorrow. And I went in and auditioned for him. And he had just moved his studio from downtown because it got destroyed in 9/11. And I literally auditioned under a sound blanket that was seat clamped to like some poles. And the facts hadn't come through. I literally had one line to audition with, and it was, you're a mad dog. That was it. And so I talked to him for a bit, and then I was like, I got in there, and I was like, all right. He's like, 3 in a row. And I was like, you're a mad dog. Like, I just did it a bunch of times, and then I said, nice to meet you, and I left. And a week later, he said, okay, they like you the best, but we're not sure because we don't have any script. So can you come in and do like an hour of recording? We'll do it to picture as if it was final. And then if I get it approved, we'll pay you for it. And if not, you can just consider it a really long callback. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I ended up booking Casca, and that was my first, voyage. And it was super fun. It was great because we recorded every other month for, 6 months to do all the volumes. And, it was really, just learning as I went.
And now I'm kind of curious with the sound blanket. I've actually never heard that term. Is that kind of like, I guess, a green screen sort of material that just is around you like a bubble or something?
A sound blanket.
Oh, I see.
Like just one of those, it looks like a really thick moving blanket, like a moving pad. Like it's just a really big, dense blanket that you would normally put over objects to like deaden so that the sound doesn't bounce on them.
All I can picture is like a ghost in the recording
And
booth.
that's exactly what it looked like. It was like a tent, like this weird little like blanket tent. It was very funny.
I assume those aren't used very often.
No, no, no. It was really just for the purposes of that audition because I mean his booth hadn't gotten installed. It was literally getting installed over the weekend, but he needed to get the auditions in.
Right, I understand. I'm just curious because I've never heard that term, and I don't think our listeners have either. So we learned
Yeah,
something new today.
yeah. There you go, listeners.
And now, were you aware of exactly what anime was?
Not really. I mean, at the time, not really. I had sort of heard of it and stuff, but I'd never really watched it or understood anything about the community or sort of how vast it was. I studied Japanese when I was in high school and college, and I went there for a month to visit. So I was familiar with it just as an aspect of Japanese culture, but not in any sort of thorough way.
Right, I understand. And I'm a little bit curious, did you have any trouble with the dubbing process?
Oh my goodness. You know, it's a funny thing. The it's like an interesting brain exercise of look down, memorize the line, look up, look at the picture, listen to the beeps, come in, match what's happening. And when I first started, I was like, oh my God, I don't know I don't know what to do. Like my brain was just not having it. So I would like either there were a lot of times where I would start late, but I would sort of remember how it went. And so they would just have to slide my thing back 3 seconds and it would sort of fit, which was kind of amazing for me. Um, and then I was like, oh, and then it gets easier. You come in, I think it's like every session I would come in and I'd be confused a little bit and then I'd get in the hang of it. And then at about the 2 hour mark, my brain would start to then fall into mush again. And I would just sit there and not register that the three beeps had happened. I would think only two had happened, or I would like completely forget the line, or I would accidentally say it in Japanese because that's what I had just heard. And then that was break time. That was always the signal that it was time to have a break. But after a while, it just becomes ingrained in you, and you just know it. I mean, half the time I don't even need a preview anymore. Like I'm just like, let's just roll it. Let's just, chase it and see what's what.
And now with the beeps, I always hear that it's a lot easier if you have some sort of musical background to kind of work with that.
Really?
Yeah, I hear that quite often. I don't know if that makes a difference or not.
I think I've definitely heard, definitely I would say that a lot of people who are in anime voice acting do have some kind of musical background. I also think comedy helps because really the issue here is timing. And though I don't have a strong musical background, my degree is sort of in linguistics, so I have a really good ear for rhythms, just in terms of like speaking. So I think that may be what helped me. I'm not sure, but a lot of the people who do this, they're also incredible musicians in some way.
Well, I think that's actually really interesting because you pulled from your own experiences. You were like, screw that music stuff. I got this.
I mean, you're in that booth alone by yourself with a pair of headphones. You got to pull on whatever you got, whatever's gonna make it through.
I would think it would be kind of nerve-wracking the first few times where it's just like you and the director and the sound engineer, and you're like, what am I doing?
You know what the weirdest thing is? The silence afterwards, because you beep, 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 blah, 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 and then you stop, and then you look out there, and then there's this silence, and you see through the glass, but, two people are having like a conversation about something, and you can just see them in the background, like with their hands moving or that blah, 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 blah. And then they like click back on the button. They give you like a little faster. And you stop and you're like, really? That's all you were saying about me? Because it looked like way more intense than that.
That would drive me crazy.
Yeah, you're just like, what are they saying? What are they saying? What are they saying? They hate me. Oh my gosh, they hate me. They hate me. What's going on? This is horrible. They cast the wrong person. They cast someone else named Carrie, and they called me, and they're like, why is the brunette in the booth? And your mind gets a little nutty. And then many years later, I started producing this stuff. I started working for Michael's company, and And I was the one doing the casting and the directing and stuff. And I realized that half the things I'm talking about out in the room have nothing to do with their performance. But I would always say, like, we're just talking about some technical things. You're doing fine. And like give them a heads up that
Oh,
they're
well,
like
that's
fine.
cool because that helps, their experience and your experience kind of merged together and made it so, hey, I know this made me uncomfortable. I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, people who, have been doing it longer, they sort of, you get used to the fact that like you talk and then there's silence and then later you get a note. But I just always like to keep people on the same page. The last thing you want to the last thing you want to do is have the person in there start to like devolve emotionally into their own downward spiral of insecurities. You try to be a team player.
Yeah, that sounds kind of bad. I think depression in the booth would be a little bit
Yes.
hectic.
Especially like you can see with, because we, again, Michael was always very big about using new people and really being open to new talent and we so we would often use people who like they kind of like broke in with us, and so I'm watching them go through the same process I did with the beeps and the performing and the this and the how do you put the note, make the note happen, how do you do an acting note and still have the rhythm and remember what the end of the line was exactly, and so you try to be sensitive to those kinds of things and like be like, it's just gonna be hard. It'll get better. Don't worry, it'll get better. Don't worry, it'll get better.
Well, that's kind of neat that you were able to expand into other parts of voice acting as well, and to the other process. That must have kind of made sort of a light bulb go off when you're like, oh, this is what they do.
Absolutely. I mean, I like knowing everything about a process, and I like learning everything about a process. And it was really a blessing to have to be on the other side of that booth, especially when you're doing things like auditioning and you're hearing, you'll hear like 10, 12 girls do the exact same script, and they're all like incredibly talented people, like Bella Hudson and Veronica Taylor and, Rebecca Soler and Emily Blau. Like you're bringing in a lot of girls who are working a lot and Lisa, but you get to hear how each one of them does it a little bit differently. And there really are, even though it's just a person in a room with a voice, like you hear like what they bring to it and their point of view and their personality and their sensitivity and their grace or their energy or their aggression and it's just amazing to hear like how distinct everyone is and unique they are in terms of bringing out the colors of any given character, just even with the same exact words, how really varied everything can be. And it kind of makes you, you're a little bit in awe, and you think, oh, wow. And so the thing that I do is, uniquely me. And it's just a matter of finding that right combination for why I fit a particular character, this particular character better than, Rebecca or Veronica fit it.
I think that's a really nice aspect of it too, because it helps you determine sort of your own skills and other people's skills and essentially what, is best for that role. And you really never get to hear about that sort of process. I mean, we get to talk to voice actors and actresses all the time, but it's very rare that we get to hear about the other side of the glass.
Yeah, because as the actor, you don't you don't know. You go in, you lay down your tracks, you leave. Maybe later you hear what they did cast and you go, oh, wow. There's really not a lot of a feedback loop for actors in general across all mediums. If you book it, then you get the feedback. And then when you actually see it, you're like, oh, they cast a 35-year-old African-American woman in that role. I clearly was not not going to book that role, so it was really lovely to be able to sort of experience that and really appreciate. And then suddenly the community changes for you as well, because these aren't women that you're competing against anymore. These are just women who are your community and are your peers, and you all get to just kind of come in and do your thing. And it's not about like, oh, she's better, she's worse. But though I will say that listening to people's auditions, I learned a lot. I mean, I definitely got better listening to other people going, oh, wow, the way she did that, or, oh, the turn of phrase there, or, oh, that's so interesting how she is able to bring that out. parts of characters that I struggle with, hearing other people do them really well was, helped me understand better how to capture those characters. So I have a lot to be thankful for.
I think that's really cool, and I think that's a perfect time to take a break here on 91.8 The Fan. But don't go anywhere, because our special guest is going to still be here unless, her lizard friend comes back.
Right.
So make sure to stay tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want and nothing you don't.
Coming to 918 The Fan each and every Wednesday. A rounded table hosted by the one, the only. Eagle Eyes Round Table, only on 918 The Fan.
Hey everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. I am still here with my lovely guest. Would you like to show a sign of life?
Hello, I am alive.
That's always a good thing. That would kind of ruin the interview just a little.
Hello, hello, hello.
I have had fun experiences where I've come back from break and I've been like, can you show us a sign of life? Beep, beep, beep. Curses, we're going to a break.
No, I'm still here.
Well, basically, we were talking behind the scenes for all those out there who couldn't listen about your, projects that you're currently working on or projects that just came out. Are there any that you'd like the listeners to know about?
Well, right now I have a web series called randomcreepyguy.com, and it is launching every Wednesday on dailymotion.com. And we just launched episode 7 and 8, so you can find everything on that website, dailymotion.com. We just topped 100,000 views, so that's exciting. And you're going to want to check out episodes 2 and 8 because those are the ones I'm in. And so that's going great. And there's also sort of the corollary website to that is baconisbomb.com. Sort of is part of it ties into the storyline of the piece. So you can also find it at baconisbomb.com. And
that just makes me hungry. I'm not gonna lie.
The idea is that one of the characters in the piece makes art pieces out of bacon.
Interesting.
Yes.
I don't know how that would work out, but interesting.
Yes. At one point, they were trying to put someone in a bacon bathing suit, and I was like, absolutely not me. Find someone else. That sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a terrible idea, but actually some of the stuff that they created, it looks really kind of cool.
And it's made out of bacon.
You'd be surprised how many things you can make out of meat.
That's true. Lady Gaga showed the world that a little bit ago.
Yep.
And what else do we have to look forward to?
I'm just doing a lot of live performing here in Los Angeles. I have a show at the UCB on Friday night as part of the Not Too Shabby. And performing around town. I keep thinking about getting back involved in stand-up out in Los Angeles. I used to do stand-up in New York, but nothing on the slate for that quite yet.
I would think that would be ridiculously hard, personally.
It's tricky. It's tricky. It's its own little beast. It's its own little beast. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I couldn't. I don't think that is something I would be very good at because I'm not funny. I just giggle all the time.
That makes it harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, stand-up is less effective when the comic is doing all the laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the problem.
The opposite balance.
And now, I'm kind of curious because a little bit earlier we talked about how anime had a strong fan reaction and whatnot, but you said you really don't do the convention thing, but has there been any conventions you've gone to?
Yes, I've gone to some conventions. A part of it was, working for Michael, I wouldn't want to be out of town the same time he was out of town, and he was always going to conventions, so I just never really went or got involved with people to be invited. People are like, why don't you go? I'm like, I don't know. I never got asked. But I did go to one in Michigan because I'm originally from there, and that was really fun. It was a Halloween weekend 2 years ago. And then I've been to one in New Jersey twice, whatever the one in New Jersey is. And then I've also been to, New York Comic Con a couple of times. And I just went to the LA convention that happened last spring. Last spring? No, I might be making that up. There was an LA convention that I went to. So I've been to like maybe 4 or 5.
Right. And it still must be interesting to see how the fans react, because anime fans can be very passionate.
Yeah, what's really interesting is, because no one sort of knows me walking down the street, like unless I'm sitting on a panel in front of a nameplate being like, hello, I'm so and so and I've done such and such. But being there with other friends of mine who, have been doing conventions and are much more well known to the anime fan base, it's just amazing. They'll be like, Michael or Stephanie. Stephanie Shea is a really good friend of mine, and Tara Platt and Yuri Lowenthal. Like we all, a lot of us are really good friends with each other. So it's always so interesting to see that sort of level of enthusiasm. And sometimes I feel a little bit bad. I feel like I'm not sure if there's something in my life that I'm as enthusiastic about. I feel like I'm missing something that anime fans have.
Well, some of them can be a little bit too obsessive. Luckily, you probably haven't met any of those yet.
Well, I haven't had any. I haven't had any problems or anything. I've actually had really lovely conversations with, the people I've had a chance to meet.
And that's good, though. It's always, I think it's always nice for, the voice actors to get a chance to meet their fans. And I think anime fans specifically really have a sort of, I'm trying to think of a not creepy way to say it, but sort of have a very big fascination with their favorite voice actors. And I think knowing them on sort of a semi-personal level, but not a creepy personal level, is something that's starting to become a trend.
Oh. I actually was just part of, Stephanie Shea helped put together a benefit for the Japan earthquake this past Thursday at Meltdown Comics in Los Angeles. And we had a lot of talent there. And I was actually in charge of running the talent booth. So, you had like Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham and Troy Baker and Crispin Freeman and J.B. Blanc and Yuri and Tara and Stephanie and just like a ton of people. And it was to sort of like watch everyone's, the joyfulness with interacting with all the fans and the talent. It was really actually sort of lovely. And a lot of them would recognize, oh yes, I met you at such and such, and oh yeah, I remember you and stuff. So I could see that, the fans really make an effort to, have, relationships with the industry and the people in the industry. And I think that that's really, and it's such a part of the culture. And I think that that's really unique to anime as compared to, I think the only other thing you'd really see it in would maybe be like in stand-up or in like comedy. You have that same sort of accessibility. But for us, you just sort of get in a booth one day and you're doing lines on a page that are completely, you may have some idea of the context and you're only seeing what other people are saying right next to you. You may or may not even hear what they sound like if you're in at the first record, because a lot of dubbing, it's by yourself. When you do group records, you at least get to be in the room with other people sometimes. And so it's like very much the sort of vacuum, like you just sort of do these like random, like one line at a time, and you try to make something happen and make something real occur between someone who's going to come in 4 days later and record their lines one at a time. And in the end, like sometimes it's hard to even keep track of all the work that you've done to, like by the time it comes out, to then like go back and have the time to like listen to it and hear what happened and what that final product was. So there's not really a lot of like feedback loops. Sometimes you can feel like you're doing it in a void. And I think the conventions and events really sort of give you an opportunity to go, oh wow, look, your work is being received out there and people are really enjoying it and you are like touching an audience. Because otherwise I don't see how you would get that feeling.
I can understand that. And for the fans out there who would like to stalk you in a non-creepy way, is there any place on the internet that they can follow your projects, any social media, anything like that?
I have a website. It's just KerrieKeranen.com. That's Carrie KERANEN.com. And I've had fans over the years email me through that. And for the most part, I've gotten back to everyone that I'm aware of. If you've emailed me and I missed you, I apologize. Please email me again. And sometimes people ask to send things to get them signed or whatever, and I've been happy to do that. I do have a Facebook account, but I don't really use it in business ways. I sort of use it mostly just for friends. Mm-hmm. So there may be a couple of fans on there, but they're fans that I've met and had conversations with and emailed back and forth with and have sort of become friends with. So Facebook is usually not the best way to get me, and I'm only bringing that up because I just don't want anyone to feel bad if they try to Facebook me and I don't accept their friendship there.
Well, that's natural because you do need some personal life too.
Yes. And also I need to, who knows what I might post on Facebook here and there. And, but by my email, I've always gotten back to people if they have any thoughts they'd like to share.
And now I'm kind of curious, since we're nearing the end of the interview, if you'd be willing to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Wonderful. We ask everyone if they'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
A radio bump. Okay.
Yes, we do this live on air, so if we have a few takes, everybody gets to hear it, so the pressure's on.
Oh gosh. Okay.
We're wondering if you could simply say, my name is, you insert your name, I do this, you insert maybe characters you do, or just in general, I am a theater actor, or voice actress, whatever you want to put there. And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
You're tuned into 98.1.
91.8 The Fan.
Right, 91.8 The Fan. I'm totally cheating and writing this down.
Oh, it's okay. That happens all the time.
Live action. I'm trying to think of the
Deep in thought.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I can do this. Totally.
Awesome. Then whenever you're ready, we'll have take one.
Hi, my name is Carrie Keranen. I do Casca and Berserk, Cutie Honey in the live-action Cutie Honey, and Goku-sen. And you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan.
See, that wasn't that hard.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there?
No, I just, thank you for tuning in, if anyone did, and thanks for being a fan, and I hope everyone has a really nice day.
Well, this was an absolute pleasure, and if you missed any of this interview, shame on you, but don't fret, it'll be posted on the website within the next few days. So keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan, everything you want and nothing you don't.